Ready or not, summer is coming, and Wayfair's Memorial Day clearance is on now. Right now through May 25th, get up to 70% off everything home at Wayfair. Plus, score amazing doorbuster deals all sale long and surprise flash deals on Memorial Day. We're talking thousands of products at every style and budget. Now is the time to save big on must-haves for your patio, backyard, and beyond. These savings won't last, so don't wait. Shop Wayfair's Memorial Day clearance now through May 25th.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
Your home for the best sports radio for your afternoon drive is right here. This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. All right, Ben, let's talk some draft. Let's get out of the zone phone. Joining us now, he covers Kansas for the Topeka Capital Journal. He's Jordan Gusky with us here on Jake and Ben. What's going on, Jordan?
Hey, living the dream. How are you guys doing?
We're doing terrific. All right, we obviously want to start with Darryn Peterson and the weird, not marathon, but semi-sprint that was his career at Kansas. So can you give us some background on what it meant to Kansas when he specifically committed to the program and how quickly things started to feel like they weren't on track or they were going south?
Yeah, I think it meant a lot to the program. When you get some people would consider him the number one recruit, maybe number two at worst. I think when you get a recruit of that magnitude, that's pretty substantial, especially for a team and a program that year in, year out expects to be competing for a national championship. So I think when you get someone of that caliber, it's a huge deal. And then, as you sort of allude to, it did pretty early on start. I don't know if unravel is a harsh word, but it did start to just not go the way that it was envisioned when he first committed, signed, and arrived on campus. And so I think that created some of the problems that you saw with Kansas this past season, but also in some ways allowed other people to emerge. And so I think if you gave that team more time heading into that postseason, as it was constructed, maybe they would advance farther than the round of 32 in the NCAA tournament. But obviously they weren't able to do that. But I think it was definitely a big addition to get him, and it's just unfortunate it didn't work out.
What do you think of the explanation out there about him, pulling himself out of games and missing games, having to do with the cramps and the creatine and the hell week that Bill Self put him through? What do you, I guess, what do you make of all that? Yeah,
I was at some of those games, obviously where, he came out of the games, and it's, you want to, I don't know how to say it, but obviously Darren's he had health stuff that he was going through, so you want to trust and not, go at him for something like that. But it's definitely, I understand publicly, why it was a sort of a tough look for some of the things that happened. But if he's going through those health issues and he's going through them, and obviously it's just not going to be a great look, especially because they didn't really sort of get ahead of the thing. They sort of let people speculate for a while. I think that's probably part of the problem that, we're all dealing with right now in terms of Darryn Peterson. But he obviously is, went through some stuff and had to deal with it the way he wanted to deal with it.
So, Jordan, beyond kind of the stuff that everybody knows, the pulling himself out of games, the cramping, etc., behind the scenes, what did you make of him as a member of the program, as a teammate, and opportunities to speak with him or just kind of see how he interacts? He's called himself an introvert. He's called himself a loner. Were those negatives, or how did you kind of interpret some of the way he operated?
Yeah, I think he was really well liked by his teammates. I think part of the, like I sort of mentioned a moment ago, just because he wasn't around as much, I think people started to just infuse their own ideas about him into the conversation instead of really knowing more about him as a person. But in conversations with him and conversations just with people around the program and everything, I think he was really well liked within the program. I don't think there was animosity within the program. Obviously there was frustration just because he's dealing with all these health issues, but I don't think there was the sort of same negativity or anything like that around the program as you maybe saw if you were watching, some national shows that maybe took some shots at him.
How do the fans feel about him?
I think there's just a level of what could have been. I think that's unavoidable in a situation like this where a season is sort of derailed by, various health issues. Like what could have been if Kansas had him fully healthy for the entire time. But I don't think there's a animosity toward him as a person. I think there's just a sort of, what could, like I said, what could have been, what could have been if he was healthy.
I'm not asking you to play doctor or anything along those lines. I'm just curious, is it somebody who you think has the opportunity to have a productive career ahead of him? Like, is this somebody who you think is probably going to make it through? And again, not even physically, I just mean as a person, as a player, is somebody whose best days are still ahead of him?
Yeah, I think, and this isn't probably like a unique opinion, but I think if all the medical stuff that they've done at the combine and whatever teams check him out, if all that stuff clears, like, take him. Like, I think he's one of the best college basketball players in my time covering college athletics that I've seen. I'm only 30, so I'm not exactly breaking new ground here, but I think if he's healthy enough and if you clear him medically, you take him, I think he's someone who can be a great NBA player.
How much longer do you think Bill Self will coach at Kansas?
Yeah, it's $1 million question. But he got Darryn, he got Tyron. I think if you keep giving him the opportunity to compete for national championships, I think he's going to continue to take those options. Obviously, his health is playing a major factor in that, and he's talked about that in various forums during and since the season. But I don't know if there's like a specific year I would put on it, but obviously he's coaching this season, and if he can continue to feel like he's competing for a national championship and healthy, then I don't see why he wouldn't continue coaching.
Looking at, I guess, the season they've got coming up now, I know we're a ways out from it, but are fans going to be happy to put this last year behind them and move forward? What are the expectations for this team? Is there a belief that Kansas still belongs at the top of the Big 12 conversation year in and year out?
Yeah, I think the fans still believe that they belong in the top of the conference. I think there's just some, especially maybe probably because of how this past season went, and maybe to your point of putting in the past, maybe some, I don't know if doubt's the right word, but just questions about the team and the roster. But I think, if Tyron delivers, if the rest of the pretty high-profile freshman class delivers, they got some quality transfers that they're bringing in. We'll see if they add any more because they have some roster spots open. But I think there are high expectations, but I think because of how this past season went, there are maybe a little more like wait and see how this happens sort of thing with the team. But it still is a team that, when you have Bill Self as your head coach, people are going to think it's competitive in the Big 12 Conference.
One of the weird things about Kansas, and I've gone back and watched maybe a half dozen of their games this past year, was when Darryn is on the floor, he's really dominating the ball. A lot of plays are drawn up for him, and even though he wasn't necessarily the main point guard, when he got it, he didn't pass a whole lot. That's why he had a 1-to-1 assist-to-turnover ratio. Was that just because he wasn't on the floor very often, so there wasn't much chemistry? And B, how good do you think his teammates were this past season?
Well, I guess maybe starting with B, I think Melvin really, maybe it's something I mentioned earlier, I think Melvin really sort of, I don't know if came out of his shell is the right way to put it, but Melvin really shined because of Kansas legitimately needed him to shine as a sort of point guard type. And so I think he had some really great stretches there. I think Trey White, transfer from Illinois, had some great stretches. Obviously, Flory is someone who was highly sought after he went in the portal. I think his teammates did well. I think there was maybe just, like Bill has alluded to at times, just that struggle with, which team are you coaching? Are you coaching the Darryn Peterson team, or are you coaching the team where Darren's not on the floor? So I think that's something that Kansas had to deal with over the course of the season, and they just sort of had to try to feel that out as, even into the postseason in some ways probably, as they tried to figure that out. So I think the teammates did fine. I think Darren's ball handling and his sort of domination on the ball was just a factor of how they tried to manage that situation.
Assuming you cover football as well, Jordan, any thoughts about the Jayhawks coming out of spring?
Yeah, I think obviously the quarterback competition is the main thing with Kansas football. I do cover the football team. So I think that's the biggest thing that fans are waiting to see. No named starter yet, but obviously it's probably between either Cole Ballard or Isaiah Marshall. They had a transfer in from Rice and Chase Jenkins, who was dealing with some injury issues early in spring. So he wasn't able to maybe get the sort of crack at it that he would have wanted or the team would have wanted. But I think it's probably between Isaiah and Cole, and as long as that quarterback play is good, then they can have a shot at being bowl eligible. But we'll see what happens.
What's the expectation, do you think, year in and year out for Kansas on the football field after what was seemingly very low for such a long time, and then how that's changed over the last decade or so?
Yeah, I mean, I think the baseline of expectations has risen quite a bit. I think obviously you could see with the back-to-back 5 and 7 seasons that fans are not okay with that, and maybe I wasn't around. I came here in the fall of 21, so I wasn't around for that decade or so where they were really struggling. But obviously, I think 5 and 7 is not acceptable, I guess, in a way anymore for this fan base. So I think they're looking for more. I think bowl eligibility is the baseline. So I think that's really what this team is shooting for, and then in their minds, hoping for more.
Hey, Jordan, thanks for jumping on with us. We really appreciate it.
Yep, thanks.
Thank you. Jordan Gusky covers Kansas for the Topeka Capital Journal.
Last year, I can't remember the guy's name, I'm going to apologize, but we had a writer on who covered Rutgers, and I thought it was very revealing when he said, Ace Bailey is like the best teammate. Everybody loves Ace. He's, cheering on the bench, standing up. If you fall down, he runs over to help you up. Like, he is totally bought in on the people around him. It's not just the Ace show. But his teammates are just awful. They're bad players. They don't belong on the same court as him. But he's like a cool guy. And then I will just tell you, I've just seen that totally carry over in the Jazz locker room. Ace is just magnetic, and everyone likes him and is rooting for him. All of his teammates really are rooting for him. So it's curious with and also he had a little bit of the quiet mystery about him. Now, while he's certainly willing to talk, he shut everything down before the draft, so there were some of those same questions. Is he actually interested in people around him, or is it just about Ace? Darryn, this has kind of always been his thing. He's just kind of always been a little bit quiet. Again, self-described, loner, outcast, not outcast, but introvert. Does that mean he's a bad teammate? Jordan just said no. He's a good teammate. Everyone seemed to really like him. He just didn't play on the floor, and then compounding with his kind of natural personality, I think it may have started to seem worse. But yeah, those are the other parts of the questions here of like, is this guy going to be a part of it? Does this guy buy in? Is this guy going to fit in with what the team's already doing? Because I think the Jazz have a healthy culture, but that doesn't mean it couldn't be disrupted by the wrong player. Yeah,
I agree with that. I'd be more concerned about entitlement as opposed to introvert. We asked Jordan about the issues, and he kind of not danced around it, but didn't want to go hot takey on it, and just kind of was more matter of fact. But I got to know why he's checking himself out of games. Mm-hmm. I've got to know if it's some sort of pretentious, entitlement thing. I would want to know about that. Like, and you know what? It doesn't doom the guy either. I just want to know. Kyrie Irving missed his entire collegiate career because of a hangnail or something. Mm-hmm. And I before I drafted that guy, I would want to know what I was getting myself into. And by the way, it did kind of end up being that Kyrie is a little strange. Yeah, Kyrie's a weird dude. A little tough to work with. Super talented. He's won a title. He's been one of the better players in the NBA over the last few decades, but it has not come out hasn't come without a certain amount of headaches. And how much are you willing to do that with a young team? How much are you willing to buy in there? It's a little different playing next to LeBron, and even Kyrie couldn't figure out how to play next to LeBron and demanded that he get traded and ended up in Boston. So along those lines, though, and important to remember, Danny Ainge had no problem taking on Kyrie Irving. He said, headache? What headache? Whatever.
And
wins.
But it burned him.
It did kind of end up burning him.
They did end up burning him.
They did not work in, did they win the trade for Isaiah Thomas? Probably. Kyrie was a better player than Isaiah, but it didn't yield them a title.
They didn't win.
Yeah.
And he was a huge headache, and he ended up leaving for nothing. He signed in Brooklyn as a free agent. So it's not like they flipped him for other assets. He
Correct.
Walked out of the door, and
Correct.
they got nothing. I would say that was
fail might be too strong, I guess, but I don't think that was a successful trade. That was not a success, Kyrie Irving being in Boston at all.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. Regardless, Danny isn't scared to bring him in.
No, he's not.
No. Now, maybe once bitten, twice shy. Maybe he is now. Maybe he does have more of those concerns. And he has expressed concerns about players in the past. It was D'Angelo Russell, who he talked about, like, I don't know how you have that guy on your team after outing Nick Young for having a girlfriend not named Fergie. Or Iggy Azalea.
Once bitten, twice shy is did Great White invent that saying?
The band Great White?
Yeah.
Because of the song Once Bitten, Twice Shy?
Yeah. Did it originate there?
No, I suspect that's been an ideology for 200,000 years since humans really started hunting and getting bit by things.
200,000 seems a little long.
I mean, maybe the language verbatim is not, but the action of, I tried to get close to that animal and it bit me, and so I'm not going back a second time.
I'm Googling this, and if it comes up Great White, you're going to look really dumb.
No, that would be cool if it'd be cool if a song introduces an entire idea. But no, I think what once bitten, twice shy is a very old idiom and a practice that goes back, yes, hundreds of thousands of years.
Hold on. Once bitten, twice shy means blah, blah, blah. I don't care where's the origin. This idiom referencing a very old piece of philosophy, the wisdom of knowing that you can learn from the mistakes that harm you so you can avoid making them again. The phrase, once bitten, twice shy, is also old.
Doesn't say where it first appeared?
No. Wait, the principle appears in one of Aesop's fables.
Okay.
All right. Well, this doesn't really answer my question. The answer is Great White.
You think it was Great White?
I do now. These people can't tell me.
Because Aesop's fables were what, 500 years BCE? So
I don't believe you.
2,500 years ago?
I don't believe that website. Stay tuned. We'll have more Jake and Ben coming up next. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Just doing it big, you know?
Your home for the best sports radio for your afternoon drive is right here. This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Pretty glad Christian ran out of New York songs. Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We're teaming up with Beehive Meals. We're honoring people that impact youth sports in our communities. Nominate the youth sports volunteer for the Beehive Meals Hero of the Week. You can do so at kslsports.com/contest and listen every Thursday afternoon to this show, Jake and Ben, for the winner. It's the Beehive Meals Hero of the Week.
No Sleep Till Brooklyn? Beastie Boys?
Well, that song was
Brooklyn
in the system as Bump AC/DC New York City.
Oh, okay.
Brooklyn is a borough, but they have their own team.
That's true. That does make it a little tricky.
So that doesn't count.
But probably more Knicks fans in Brooklyn than Nets fans. I don't know if the Nets have fans. People go to the game.
But they don't call
convenient.
them the New York Nets.
No, they haven't earned that distinction.
They're the Brooklyn Nets.
Yeah. Formerly New Jersey.
So your Brooklyn songs.
They should move back to New Jersey.
Totally out.
They should go back to New Jersey. Brooklyn. Whatever. They can play in Brooklyn. It's a cool arena. It's where the draft is. But just go back to New Jersey. That was a cool name.
I agree.
The alliteration was better than Brooklyn Nets.
I totally agree. Yeah. But the Russian gangster had a vision.
Yeah.
Get them to Brooklyn.
Yeah, it probably does increase the value of your team 3- or 4-fold. So, good for him. Happy for him. Whatever happened to him?
Mikhail Prokhorov?
Yeah.
I don't know. He sold to a Chinese gangster instead, right?
Joe
Tsai?
Joe Tsai.
And by the way, I have no idea. Don't sue me, Joe.
He seems pretty well liked. He's not done a good job, particularly.
No,
though
he's
no
been
one
terrible.
seems to have done a good job with the Nets. But people do seem to like him, kind of.
Didn't he make a major decision while he was just hanging out on his boat? I might not be remembering that right. But anyway, he did sign Kyrie Irving, as we were talking about. So there is that. You looking into Joe Tsai now?
Mikhail Prokhorov has never been married, but has been engaged twice. Shortly after purchasing the Nets, he vowed to get married if the Nets had not won an NBA championship within 5 years. In 2015, he rescinded that pledge, saying the NBA commissioner Adam Silver had taken his place by marrying in May.
Well, that's a weird fun fact, I guess. Doesn't say what he's currently doing, though, huh?
No, I couldn't really figure out where he is. Seems like the last update we have is 2018.
Good riddance.
Sure, whatever.
It's funny how far the NBA has come, because that was back in the day where they had to just beg people to buy franchises.
Mm-hmm.
And now they've got a line out the door. What was the expansion fee? What was that rumored to be? Anywhere from $7 to $10 billion. $7 to $10 billion. So if Jeff Bezos wants to buy the Seattle Sonics, it's going to cost him $10 billion. They don't have to beg some Russian oligarchs to buy their teams anymore.
Correct.
Kind of crazy.
Yep. In fact, they're trying to keep some people out, I would imagine.
Yeah. They're certainly in that position. Remember when Major League Baseball wouldn't sell the Rangers to Mark Cuban?
Mm-hmm.
I always thought that was funny because Mark Cuban did turn out to be a pretty good NBA owner. He was controversial in the beginning, though. You remember that?
No, big time. Yeah, absolutely. He was loud and a little obnoxious, and people thought abrasive. Definitely abrasive. And the NBA thought, well, that's bad. And turns out that's good. Mark Cuban helped rescue a fledgling franchise in a major market. Now, I think he made a mistake by selling it, and we'll see if the Adelsons are able to do anything right. Some of that may be based on their decision yesterday to fire Jason Kidd, which happened late in our show.
You and I were talking about this off the air. Kind of funny, if you paid attention to NBA TalkSnap after that announcement was made, there are people all over the place talking about what a bad guy Jason Kidd is.
And that's not news necessarily. He's got a domestic assault, and he's got some things in his past that are bad off the court, certainly. And then on the court, he's had mixed results as a coach to bad results, though Dallas had been his best stop between Brooklyn, Milwaukee, assistant coach with the Lakers. Apparently, Dame wanted him to be the coach in Portland. They got Chauncey instead. But he goes to
Huge
Dallas
upgrade.
and makes the finals, and I think had revived or kind of remedied kind of the perspective of his coaching abilities. But yes, everybody was lining up to dunk on him now that he's out the door, including Henry Abbott, who's been a longtime NBA writer. I think used to be a quasi front office member. I could be wrong, but Henry Abbott's been writing about the NBA for a long time, and he shared this on social media. He said, I covered Jason Kidd when he played for the Nets. I know one of his childhood friends. I've been to his house, met his kids, then wife, and Pilates instructor, and I have insight from many people who worked with him in his coaching years. This is a great firing. That's a tough one to say. I know everyone he knows. I know everyone who's ever known him. I've covered him for 30 years now. This is an absolutely tremendous decision by everybody involved.
Yikes.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yikes. When Captain Jack and the Jazz parted ways, there were a variety of reactions from depending on who you talk to or listen to or whatever. None of them were Quinn Snyder, bad guy.
No.
You know what I mean? None of the reactions
and
were
obviously,
Quinn Snyder, Captain Jack, bad guy. That didn't, nobody said that.
Quirky.
Or when
unique.
When Ty Corbin, when the Jazz parted ways with Ty Corbin, people had mixed reactions. None of them, especially with Ty, none of them were Ty Corbin, bad guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Not a good basketball coach, didn't know how to coach in the modern league, all those things, never going to be Jerry Sloan. And all of those were true. I don't know about an idiot, but...
He wasn't disciplined necessarily. I mean, he just there was a variety of reasons it didn't work. Being a bad guy was not one of them at all.
Nobody was really lining up to celebrate his downfall.
No.
And people are lining up to celebrate the downfall of Jason Kidd. I suspect it will be short-lived because NBA teams are not that creative. And B, he just went to the finals. So someone's going to say, we need someone to get us to a finals. We cannot wait to fire Kenny Atkinson. That's my guy.
Oh, man. Kidd and Donovan together?
That's my guy.
Bring in LeBron? No, I think he'll end up in New Orleans, co-head coaches.
The Mosley Kidd combo.
Mosley Kidd co-head coaches. It might work.
Be the first time ever.
Might work. I can't believe it. Chicago would be better off hiring Jason Kidd than they would Jerry Stackhouse.
And he could be in the running there. We'll see if Billy Donovan ends up taking the job in Orlando. Maybe he goes to Portland with El Cheapo. I think that's a bad idea, but apparently he was in the running for that job at one time, like I said. Dame, bad news yesterday, was retweeting a lot of the people talking about how cheap Tom Dundon was being. Was kind of like sharing the goodbye. Too bad I'm leaving. Had a fun time.
Yeah,
Dame was like clearly siding with those people. Not saying this is wrong, but passive aggressively, or however you want to say it, passively at the very least, kind of sharing some of their comments.
He's the type of dude who would get to know those people, though. It probably wasn't easy for him.
Yeah, Dame's a real dude. Dame's like a real guy from all accounts. I actually don't know if I've ever talked to Dame. But everyone
you talk to people up at Weber State, and
he's around, he's active.
Yeah, and
people really like him.
And like a very down to earth, easy to talk to kind of dude.
Correct.
For a NBA superstar. So that doesn't surprise me. El Cheapo. I still love that nickname.
It's a great nickname.
I still love that nickname.
So some weirdness going on in the NBA, specifically in the Western Conference. I really do not trust what's happening with the ownership of the Mavericks. I'm not all that optimistic about the ownership of the Portland Trail Blazers. And in all honesty, if you want to look at the bad teams around the NBA historically, bad ownership is a great indicator.
Yeah, but the Adelsons did something that Ryan Smith did, where they hired a guy they can't really boss around. Mm-hmm. They hired Masai Ujiri. I mean, he's not going to take that job unless he has the ultimate say.
Agreed.
They didn't hire an empty suit that they can manipulate. They hired somebody they have to listen to.
I would
very similar to
and
Danny
they are
Ainge.
listening to him.
Yeah, right.
This is why Jason Kidd is gone. Masai Ujiri said, "Oh no, I don't care that you've extended him each of the last 2 years. I
Give
can't
him
work
$40
with
million, get him to go away, and we'll figure out a better coach that I
Cut
can
your
work
losses."
with.
So
Yeah.
I'm curious. I mean, curious to see how they do.
Maybe the ownership won't be as big of a factor because you didn't hire Masai Ujiri to tell him what to do.
And it does take a few years for teams to figure it out. Again, I don't like. Obviously, the Rockets had a very frustrating season this year, but you remember Tillman Fertitta came in and was a disaster, and after 3 years got better and became a better owner and said, "No, we're committing to a rebuild. I'm going to let some of our guys do our things." And it seemed like at least he got better at his job than his first splashy trades and hires as soon as he got there.
He did say, "Get me Kevin Durant."
But he also went out and got Ime Udoka and Kevin Durant. Nobody likes Ime, apparently, and nobody likes Kevin Durant. So maybe that was one step forward, one step back. We will see. But that's good for the Jazz, especially if Portland, Houston, and Dallas all face uncertainty, because historically, those are 3 of the top 8 teams in the West. Those are 3 very consistently average to good teams. And if you can outrun them just as an organization, that should bode well.
Have you seen the rumor out there? Well, let's see. Brett Stiegel reported this, that the Mavericks are reaching out to John Shire.
Oh.
The Duke head coach, about their vacancy. Who knows? Maybe that's fake news, but
he's a little hit or miss, that reporter. But that would make sense. I don't necessarily have a major issue with that, though kind of glaring that John Shire, the Duke head coach, though he's won a lot and actually has done a very good job, I think, preparing NBA players. He's had some success stories with guys coming into the league ready to play, including Cooper Flagg, Kyle Filipowski, Boozer will be the same way, that they have been eliminated in back-to-back tournaments by really poor execution down the stretch. The question is that college players not knowing how to execute college basketball, which is generally the rule, or a coach who doesn't have his team all that well prepared? And John Shire's young. He's really young.
he's better than Kenny Atkinson.
Apparently. Probably uses his timeouts.
Nah, let James get cooked.
I like to have him at the end of a game. I like to know how many I didn't use.
Just makes me feel good. It's like coming in under budget.
Correct.
Yeah.
Cash these in at the end
Didn't
of the day.
need those timeouts. But, Coach, you lost. But I still didn't call him.
So we will see. We'll see where Jason Kidd ends up, and we'll see what the Mavericks end up doing. Again, I was watching the games 2 nights ago, not just last night's game, which we will get back to, but thinking, wow, a lot of teams feel very far behind these guys in the NBA. And I think some of that's true, though, talking to Locke yesterday on the show, I don't know if it's pushing back on Locke or whatever, but you just can't be reactive to what other teams are doing. And while I was looking at the Mavericks specifically feeling like, wow, they've got Cooper Flagg and that's awesome, but they are really far behind both OKC and the Spurs, I don't think you start making decisions on your roster based on what those teams are doing. Because by the time Dallas is supposed to be good, the Jazz probably have a shorter pathway to getting to a point where they're hoping to compete with San Antonio and Oklahoma City. So maybe you have to be a little bit more cognizant of what those teams are doing. I don't think you build your team to combat them. I think that's very reactionary, and reactionary is usually a bad design in sports. If you're trying to react to the team on top now, by the time you're good enough to face them, the reaction doesn't mean anything. I think that's a bad way to run a team.
No, usually it's the more forward-thinking.
Yes.
The teams that get on to the next thing.
Get the player who's going to change the way the game is played. Now, Wemby is the guy who apparently is doing that right now. So who are you going to be able to get a player who changes the game beyond that, not tries to mold itself after what San Antonio's doing? I don't know a lot of examples where that works.
We've got What You Got Wednesday coming up today at 4:30. I don't know if I'm looking forward to that or not.
Okay. Good sell?
No, I mean,
Good
I think
tease?
people should look forward to it, I guess. I'm talking about me.
You
I
specifically?
guess, he says.
Yeah.
Yes.
I guess. What? Am I underselling it?
Yeah.
A little bit. Sell it harder.
Yeah, at least try.
Well, that would be fake.
You're worried about being fake?
A little.
No. Everything I do is inauthentic.
Yeah, I know. We have that at 4:30. You don't want to miss it. Stay tuned. Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Ready or not, summer is coming, and Wayfair's Memorial Day clearance is on now. Right now through May 25th, get up to 70% off everything home at Wayfair. Plus, score amazing doorbuster deals all sale long and surprise flash deals on Memorial Day. We're talking thousands of products at every style and budget. Now is the time to save big on must-haves for your patio, backyard, and beyond. These savings won't last, so don't wait. Shop Wayfair's Memorial Day clearance now through May 25th.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
I'm here on the job site with Dale, who's a framing contractor.
Hey, good morning.
Dale traded up to Geico Commercial Auto Insurance for all his business vehicles. We're here where he needs us most.
Yep, they sure are.
We make it easy for him to save on all his insurance needs, all in one place, with coverage that fits his business and bottom line. Oh, I shouldn't have looked down.
It's all right.
We're so far up here.
Look at me. Take a deep breath.
No, I'm good. So good.
Get a commercial auto insurance quote today at geico.com and see how much you could save. It feels good to Geico.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson. Now, every day from 2 to 6 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. It is Wednesday. That means it's a Win Ticket Wednesday. Caller number 12 right now, 801-575-ZONE. 801-575-ZONE. We're giving you a 4-pack of tickets to the Utah Royals taking on the Denver Summit coming up this Saturday at 4:30 at America First Field. Caller number 12 right now, 801-575-ZONE. Man, I really wish Bill Belichick and Jordan Hudson would do more interesting things.
Yeah.
There's a story about him today, and all it is the heiress is complaining about CBS News and how 60 Minutes selectively edited her interview last year. Come on.
Yeah, we need some real news here.
We need some spice.
There's been a lot of talk about Will Wade and LSU, and if you've not been paying attention, the LSU Tigers are trying to assemble a team that's largely made up of former NBA players or guys who flirted with the NBA, or R.J. Lewis, who was signed by the Jazz after the end of the draft and never played a game in the NBA or the G League. You put your crystal ball in front of you, your Nostradamus cap on. What ends all this? Do you have any sense of like when this will ever stop? Because I remember early on us talking about BYU inviting itself to the party was going to get a lot of people saying, whoa, maybe we're letting too many people into this party.
Mm-hmm.
If you're letting too many teams buy access to the top players, that was traditionally reserved for blue bloods, which earned that name going back some 40 and 50 years, some longer, just based on winning games in certain markets. They don't want everybody involved. They don't want an egalitarian approach. They don't want equality. You know, this playoff expansion, both in football and college basketball, is not about getting more teams involved. It's about enriching themselves. Can you see a world where this ends? Or a breaking point, a specific event that could make everyone change their mind on this arms race that we're running into?
Oh, man. That's a great question. Probably not. I mean, I'm trying to think, you know, my mind kind of goes down the road. Well, at what point do professional leagues want to take over the actual development and just kill college sports because you want to put them in academies and have them in your system since they were 12 and on and on and on? But there's such a thirst for college sports because people love their universities that I don't know what changes, because who's going to change it, honestly? I think you're implying that Duke gets tired of losing players to LSU, and so the rules are going to change because Duke or whatever has that much clout. I don't think that's going to happen because college basketball doesn't matter as much as college football, and Duke doesn't make a difference. Their voice doesn't matter in college sports. So they're not going to fix anything. You know, who's going to fix it? I still think it has to be the federal government, and I don't think they're going to fix it.
What's their impetus to fix it?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. I agree with you. I would think it would be an easy issue that you could get both parties on board to do something, but apparently that's not possible.
It seems like an easy sports win that politicians love.
There's a reason that Mark Shurtleff loved to rail against the BCS, the former Utah Attorney General.
Right.
It's a real popular topic to everybody. Republicans and Democrats can get on board with hating the BCS that's keeping their teams out. I would think it would be an easy win. We're going to go in and fix college sports, but I don't think there are easy wins anymore. And now there's these legal arguments because once you let amateurism actually go and that concept is now non-existent, well, legally there's no way to put any of this back in the bag. How would you? It's going to get worse. I don't understand. Honestly, an active NBA player is going to sue to go back to college. That's going to happen.
Yeah,
they're going to win. Who's to say? Who's to say that LeBron in his retirement doesn't go play out the string at Ohio State?
Yeah, never played college. What do you mean?
Well, even eligibility rules.
Right.
How are those legal? I mean, the NCAA doesn't have any teeth because amateurism isn't a thing. So there's really nothing to enforce. They don't do anything.
And we really have boiled the frog. There was not this, this is the moment it all changes. It was, this guy's available. And then in COVID, everyone's going to get an extra year. And, we're going to do name, image, likeness, but you actually have to show up and provide a service. And then it was, actually, you can't really prove whether or not they're providing a service. So we'll just kind of let everything in. And this group that's supposed to police it's going to lose this battle, and we're just going to let one more thing go, or that's a red shirt, or technically it doesn't count enough games, or let's loosen that up, or let's just give everyone 5 years. And it's all of those, this one time, okay, we'll make an adjustment here, we'll make an allowance here. And then all of a sudden you look back and you say, if you apply all those rules to one person, you're just going to let an NBA player back in. You've let all these little things go. You've made room for all these little exceptions to the point where it is just going to be a guy who's like, I flamed out of the league. I played 3 games as a second-round draft pick or as an undrafted rookie. They were just preseason games. It was just preseason. And it wasn't even a regular season game. I didn't even sign a real contract. I was on an Exhibit 10. And you're going to let an Exhibit 10 guy and R.J. Lewis come back, if they do. It's like, what's the difference? I was on an Exhibit 10. And I played in a game, but I didn't get any more money than R.J. Lewis. And they say, you're right. What's the difference there? And then that, again, it just continues to fall.
It's Lord of the Flies. It's what happens when you realize that those systems and those rules don't actually exist.
They're arbitrary.
Those constructs don't exist anymore. So what happens?
They're only as powerful as your willingness to enforce them.
Right.
And if you don't care about enforcing them, there's no truth there. It's not based in anything real.
No, it's chaos. And the worst in systems or people come out during chaos. Yeah, the worst.
And in fact, the only people who can change it outside of Congress, which I do think is unfortunately the people who probably need to, are the teams that are the only ones that can afford to run the race. And they don't want to change it.
Right.
Alabama, Georgia football, they don't want to change the rules. Duke basketball doesn't want to change the rules. They can afford to play the game. Change it for what? For Utah? For Utah State? We get recruits. We can pay whatever money we want. We don't want you looking under the hood. They can't even afford to let you come look at the car, much less look under the hood. So why would we want to change it?
On top of that, why would we want to share?
Yeah, why would we want to share?
Why would we want to share?
In fact, this comes with a news story today that Christian just shared with us, which all it screams to me is the elites trying to further separate themselves from everybody else. Matt Norlander has an article that Kentucky, UNC, Kansas, Michigan, UConn in discussions with a big new blue blood-laden college basketball event. It'll be called the Diamond Cup, and in the first month of the college basketball season, these teams will be able to play in this big 8-team tournament. Duke can't do it because they've signed with Amazon for these other games, but they'll bring in some other blue blood to fill that spot. And they will play in this big 8-team tournament to open the college basketball season to draw attention to college basketball in, when does the college basketball season even start? October? November? To try and get a share of attention in November, because most people don't start caring until late January, February, March. And that's what they're going to try and sell it as. But you read through this article and it says, well, actually what's happening is these 8 teams also get a share of ownership of this tournament.
Mm-hmm.
So it's their ability to schedule games against one another, to keep the money in their pockets, to make themselves richer than the other teams because they can sell this big TV market by themselves, or this TV deal by themselves, to separate themselves further out from the people around them, even the people in their own conference. Because we're blue bloods. You might be in our conference, but you're Rutgers. You're not a blue blood. I don't know. Vandy, you don't belong in this conversation with us. Missouri, I don't know what to tell you. You're not a great basketball school. We're different than you, and we're pulling away.
Yeah, so the sleazebags win. So getting back to Will Wade, you don't want to see that type of personality rewarded. Well, that's the exact type of personality that you need to succeed in this world. That Will Wade, terrific.
Yes, we have started to maximize the value of guys like Will Wade.
Yep.
Well done.
Well done. If there's anything though that I like about Will Wade is that he's not a covert slime ball, which is what used to win, I guess.
Yes.
You know, coaches that were actually slime balls, but on the surface they presented this holier than thou facade.
One of the big sell to the schools from Norlander, equity in the Diamond Cup, which would potentially give them additional earning potential if it becomes a major mainstay in college basketball schedule into the 2030s.
Exactly.
Yep.
All right.
That's all it's for.
We'll get to more coming up next. What you got Wednesday at 4:30? Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Summer is all about freedom, fun, and growing up. And between the ages of 9 and 13, kids are starting to form their views about alcohol. With more independence, their still developing brains need more guidance and support than ever. That's why summer is the perfect time to stay connected and plan fun, safe family activities together. Research shows kids who spend quality time with their parents doing what they enjoy are less likely to drink underage. And when kids feel close to you, they're more likely to listen, especially when you set clear expectations. In fact, kids who drink before 15 are far more likely to struggle with alcohol later. This summer, create a no-bummer summer with fun, alcohol-free activities for your kids. Go to summer.parentsempowered.org to take a quick quiz and discover ideas tailored to your family. A little time together can make a big difference. For more information and to learn more about how to prevent underage drinking, visit parentsempowered.org.